a new fake user that you'll see called Clicker.
Okay.
And then, yes, and then the key down there does its thing.
It's called the Clicker Watch.
Okay, pass light control. Okay.
Here you go, the Clicker bot.
Yes.
So we have one more participant called Flat Clicker.
Professor Dr. Slide Clicker. Sure. Are we? Yep. We're at time. Okay. Let me see. I'll do it here. Maybe. Yes. Come to the front of the room, Holger. um, so, welcome. We're at IETF 122, Bangkok, and this is the ANIMA Working Group meeting. Chairs Sheng Yang, Thomas Eckert, myself, and Secretary Michael Richardson sitting here. And I think due to time zone, everything, several people remote instead of local. I think I gave it really to the clicker, so I may need to take the clicker now to continue. Yeah, it does work. So IETF note well. Yeah, please remember, I'm not going to go through this. Hopefully everybody remembers it. So if you're in the room and you're new here, please, you must log into the working group session in the room with the in-room tool or the full room tool so that you're getting counted. Otherwise, we may be sitting on the aisleway next time around when we're not correctly being counted. Note taking, code of conduct. So I think we'd like to quickly go on. So we'll have a lot of backup slides. Feel free to read them up on the procedures of the working group. We're not going to spend time during the working group meeting on it, but during the working group slides here primarily try to see where the status of the active work is and continue to getting organized for new work to adopt. So biggest achievement since 121, we got RFC 9733, which was the Brewski alternative enrollment draft. So congratulations and many thanks to the authors editor, David von Ohamby, Stephen Fries, and Henrik Brockhaus. Yeah, that's had been in the editor's queue even since before IETF 121. So always great to see when we finally finish some of the work. As far as the JWS voucher is concerned, so that is in the RFC editor queue, a misreference that is really intentional. We decided to push it on all the way through because we are very sure that no further changes are needed. It's waiting for RFC 8366 bis. So it may stay a while in that queue, but we'll hear about the update of 8366 bis as well, how long that may take. Brewski PRM submitted to the ISG and thus outside the working group. So the authors proposed to the chairs to summarize the update, what was done on the work here in the chair slide so that we save time. And I'm going to go directly into this. So this is the summary of the update, Brewski PRM 18. So that was aligned with the latest version of the JWS voucher. Then, of course, there were comments from several expert reviews in preparation of ISG evaluation. So the AD review, enhancements in terminology, section 8 and 11. I'll read up on that a little bit yourself. Section 9 to outline operational considerations, and section 12.3 added details regarding misuse of the registrar agent. So I'd say that's a typical thing when things go out of the working group that people outside the working group don't know that much of the assumed details. So kind of explanation and adding is always a good thing. IANA expert review that included the registered service names and headings. So that went through. IoT Directorate review, always interesting for ANIMA work. So then there was a clarification regarding the minimum supported discovery approach because we'd moved out a lot of the advanced discovery, of course, into the Brewski discovery draft. Security Directorate review, of course, also most important for ANIMA. So they included reasoning for using short-lived certificates and optional use of TLS, and added hint for handling if the accepted header is not used, and additional hints for response body encoding. And then the other directorate reviews just produced various nits. So it's now on the IntelliChat for April 17th, and hopefully it will ride on smoothly from there into the RFC editor sunset. We have Brewski Cloud working group last call after IETF 121 passed. The area director questions from dash 13 were answered. So it's waiting for area director go ahead. Do you have any comments on that? Just some were lost in many of your queues.
Mahesh speaking. No, it's not lost. I'm certainly aware that there are that you might have answered some of the questions. I just need to go back and verify them.
Cool. So then we have the ANIMA grass distribution 12, and maybe Sheng wants to say a bit about that.
Yes. We only make keep alive updates this time, but we're actually working on the prototype implementation, which was missing for the last time when we submit to ISG. We will also come back, has a plan to make it for proposed standard rather than the experimental, which was some kind of compromise last time. And the prototype we have planned to make it open source later this year, but not sure whether we made it in time for next meeting or not. Anyway, we will come back to refine the use case session in the document, which also has some issues last time. We have 3 use cases, but 2 of them seems with a little bit loose relationship with the our technical mechanisms. So we would like to consolidate only one of them and move the another 2 into the appendix and refine the use case to will support our document. That's it.
Thank you. All right, so we'll have a slot for 8366 bis later in this meeting. The Brewski discovery, there was unfortunately no update since IETF 121. There wasn't anything from the authors open, but we really had to push more. So we sent out a bunch of review requests, and so the first things are trickling in. So I'm very much hoping that for next IETF we'll have a lot of more review and then a fixed version for that. So hopefully that we're getting closer to working group last call by then. So when it comes to the non-working group items, we've got 2 buckets of collateral work to the basic ANI architecture that we've been working on the sideline for a long while and didn't push them forward due to other commitments to the working group. On one hand, that's the ANIMA, the registrar and the master consideration drafts that Michael has been spearheaded. So they were presented in IETF 107, 108, and 116. And the authors think that Brewski now, with all the work done, is far along, that these drafts are a good time to be picked up by the working group. So there's a discussion on the mailing list initiated. So please chime in, view the recordings of these presentations about them in the prior IETF. And I think we will also discuss whether we need another interim or any other gating factors before we can do a call for adoption. But certainly what always helps is the discussion on the mailing list. The other part is for the overall solution network of a controller managed ANI infrastructure. 8368. There are the two drafts about the DNS-based auto-configuration and the mapping of DNS SD. And they were last presented in IETF 117. And put also pointer to the presentation in there. So they're on the same standing. The authors would like to move them towards adoption, and so we'll also start a discussion and discuss with the chairs then what else we need to go forward to make an adoption call. And yeah. There was actually one point I forgot on the, let me go back to slides here. Oh, wait a second, clicker. Here, this, right. So the one thing that, as an author speaking now, would help the Brusky discovery, there's a lot of registration in the document that we need. So it's a lot of the discovery is ultimately going to end up in registries by IANA. So an early, by far not, a final review from IANA would be very helpful if they, if IANA agrees to the principles, because otherwise we'll have a lot of structural rework if they say something, and we'd rather do that earlier than later in the process. Okay, so that's the chair slides. And with that, we go to the first of two presentations about the adopted items. So that should be the constraint Brusky, and that means Esko, can you take control?
Yeah, I have audio here, I think.
Okay.
No video, sorry. That didn't work quite
slide
well.
control, and I pass slide control to you. Okay, so I think you need to select the slides, or do you want me to? I have to pick the slides. Okay. Huh? Okay, let me pick the slides. Share slides. What? Take back slide control, yes. So now stop slides, share slides, see Brusky join proxy, confirm your selection. Yes.
Yep, that's the one.
Slide control.
It's actually two drafts in one, this for constraint Brusky. And I have control as well. So just giving an update of what has happened over the past months.
Peter, if you can open your camera, then we can see you.
Yeah, I could not get it to work actually.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, so that turned out to be a bit of a trouble for some reason. I also switched to a new browser just to get things to work again. It did not recognize anything anymore. So I'll just move on to the next slide. So this is for constraint Brusky. I always keep the recap in here, although I don't know if that's actually needed. So you can think of a minimized Brusky, so to make it suitable also for low bandwidth networks. And just keep this in for context. So this is basically the onboarding process, explaining that basically a constraint device so far on the left can onboard to a network. In this case, it's a 6-LoWPAN mesh network via a registrar and a MASA. So now to the part of what was actually happened since the last IETF. There were many editorial updates. So I did a big review of this document again, and a few changes. So it now clarifies more the use of the COSE X5 bag structure. So this is a structure that is used to store certificates of a signer. So it basically allows a registrar to fully inspect the signature of the voucher and also see what certificates were used to sign it. And the registrar can also remove these certificates again. So that means there is no overhead of this blob of certificates if you transport it over the constraint network. So the pledge can still validate the voucher correctly. And small change that was made, that's the third bullet. So we require now CBOR format for telemetry messages. This is just to avoid needless variation between JSON and CBOR. And the final point is that to simplify EST co-op S discovery for some cases, there is also a new resource type added, ace.est. But these are only minor items. So anything major coming up? What's still missing? I think there was only one open item. The top one was basically the question: how can we have a constraint voucher have a sort of assigning timestamp? This is useful for constrained devices because they might need a notion of time. So it would be useful if the MASA can basically tell something like, okay, this is the time now, and you can record that and use it to set your clock in some way. That's useful for the pledge, basically, because when it starts factory new, it does not have a clock or concept of time. So this can be useful. And the proposal I have is to reuse an existing COSE method for this, because it basically has, COSE has a means to basically say, okay, this is the timestamp when this was signed, using an existing parameter that's included in the header. So the idea was to use that and explain that also in the draft, that this can be used. And it's kind of simply defined as an integer value in CBOR. So it's also very easy to use in the embedded implementation. There's no need to parse data time strings, for example. Yeah, the second point came about after some discussion that we wanted to have the Brewski parameters registry updated with a new name for the field. So there was URI, which was not fully correct, and we want to make it more correct by using path segment here. So that's that. And the final part that's still missing is the dependencies of this draft. So constraint join proxy is up next. And also A366 bis is in our dependency for this draft. So that's the most of the work, I think, to be done. Also, regarding implementations, we have now in the appendix 8.1 a list of open source projects and code bases that we use to test and simulate this. And I have to say that Brewski is not fully implemented, but partly. So this provides some confidence that it works, but is not a full validation of all the features that it describes in the draft. And there are currently no plans, as far as I know, for anyone to do a full implementation. Okay, yeah, we could go to questions now, or maybe save them up for the end. But the plan was now to look at the constraint join proxy draft, if that's okay.
Just one quick question. Did you
Sure.
discuss whether to change the name from constraint voucher to constraint Brewski? Or
well, the name is actually changed in the draft. It's only not in the URL. The short, yeah, that's basically the draft name in the URL example. That's. I think it won't.
Thank you.
In the end, it won't show up in the final RFC.
Exactly. Yes.
So that should be okay. Yeah, and constraint join proxy did change name also. That's in the title, although not in the URL name. So it was a while ago renamed to join proxy for bootstrapping of constrained network elements. So which means that join proxy itself doesn't have to be constrained, but the pledges that it's onboarding basically are constrained devices. And typically the join proxy itself is also a constrained device. So now move to that. So what's the goal here? We have the familiar picture here again, except that I've now marked in red the role of the join proxy. So it's also called JP here. So it's a piece of code, a function that resides on all the mesh nodes in this case, or at least all router capable mesh nodes. And the pledge uses that function to onboard basically, because it does not have any means to communicate securely with the 6LoWPAN network, so it doesn't have the network key. So it does need like a MAC level unsecured connection to a joint proxy in order to do the secured DTLS with the registrar. So that's in short what it's used for. And there have been some updates since version 15, which was already from like 2 years ago. And there has been a kind of editorial overhaul and corrections made. So I did my own review on that, tried to clarify as much as possible and use consistent terminology. And also apply all the reviews that were still pending. So there has been a lot of reviews, but I think so far nobody picked up the job of actually implementing that in the draft. So I took all the ones I could find from the past years and applied that. At the same time, there's not only the review changes, but also a change that I initiated myself. So that's the top one. To simplify the features, I made the mode selection between stateless and stateful a bit simpler. So there's now a choice. So you can have a device that implements the 2 modes, or you can have only 1 mode as defined by a profile. And that makes sense because if another standard, basically like it could be some other mesh network standard, picks up this work, basically integrates it, it would typically only define a single way of doing the joint proxy, not 2 ways. Because 2 ways means extra testing and extra code. And also in some cases, you have extra code that's never going to be used. So in practice, if a mesh network standard would basically pick this up, they would only define 1 way to do this. So that's why it's allowed to have basically 1 mode now. And that is something that still the working group can review, I think, if that's okay. If needed, we can also change that again. And now on to the final point, final bullet. That's basically the focus of the discovery is now only on co-op discovery, because we decided to move discovery work to the specific draft for that. So it would be, it's nice to have then focus on just 1 way to not complicate this draft even more. So that has also been done. Well, for this draft, we still have an open issue to think about. So there are multiple issues that are related, basically. So you could say it's the registrar selection problem, and it's shown on the picture on the right. So basically, there's an onboarding going on. The joint proxy has to relay data to a registrar, and to do that, it has to know where the registrar is. In this case, there are 2. So it doesn't need to select 1. If discovery is used, the joint proxy might discover a malicious registrar, somebody posing to be a registrar, which is fairly easy because the usual discovery approaches are not secured. So anyone can basically claim to be a registrar. Another problem is that the registrar might be unresponsive. And in overall, the issue is that you have a pledge who can monitor the progress of the bootstrap, the onboarding. The joint proxy actually cannot do that very well because it's DTLS secured. So whatever is going on, it cannot see basically how the bootstrap is progressing. So yeah, so that's the problem. So the knowledge is in the joint proxy. In the pledge, the knowledge is in the pledge, while the decision has to be made by the joint proxy. So that's something we can look at further. I have to remind you that in some C-Brewski implementations, there would be no discovery of the registrar, but just configuration. So basically, there's a network data distributed through the mesh network from 1 source that basically says, okay, this is the IP address of the registrar, or this is where you contact it. And my proposal was, after we basically solve the above, I don't see any further open issues. but we had many text changes in the meantime. So it would be maybe good to have a second working group last call on that. But that's not now. I think we first have to look at the registrar selection problem more. Okay, so that's the proposal here. Also, if there are any questions here, just let me know.
Hi, Esco, it's Michael Richardson.
Hey.
So I did do an implementation of the joint proxy. I think it was 2 years ago in Rust. I think I implemented both constrained, I think I implemented both constrained DTLS proxying and TCP circuit proxying for non-constrained. I think if you go back to your question slide about the registrar, I believe that the attack is only possible by a malicious registrar that's on that side of you're talking about, by a malicious registrar that's on the network, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that would be it's not a random node. It's a node that has either been misconfigured or has gone rogue.
Right.
It could be that we could solve this with signed grasp in the discovery document. If we were to have a grasp that could have signatures, because the 6LR that is the joint proxy would have been onboarded and therefore will know the key of the registrar. So that's a possible direction. We could also say this is not a big problem, since you have to be an insider to become malicious. I think that my whatever things I learned when I implemented, I think that wound up in the discovery text of this document, which then got moved to the discovery document. And that mostly has to do with, I think that the joint proxy has to, when it receives or when it discovers registrars of different kinds, or that discovers that a registrar offers different kinds of onboarding, like constrained or not constrained, or JWS versus, CBOR, that it simply has to open multiple ports. And I believe that's what I implemented. But I think that all that stuff belongs in the discovery. So this business about you concerned about the determination, I think that's a discovery problem, not a joint proxy problem from a documentation point of view. For that. And I had some other comment about Zabruski. Oh yeah, so I quickly looked at your pull request to update the IANA registry to change the column names, and that I think that looks correct. We might need to ask IANA more clearly about whether the text is clear, or maybe they'll tell us anyway. The point is, I think we're changing the column heading of one of the entries in the registrar, right?
Right.
From URI to path segment.
Mm-hmm.
And because we just did it wrong we did it at the last minute in 8995, and we didn't think it clicked through. It's not. So yeah, we have that conversation already. But I think your text is fine for that. And I just clicked on approve in in GitHub.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Having said that, it would be lovely to organize some more kind of hackathon interop testing on this stuff and figure out how can we get there quickly. So if that's something you want to participate or others want to participate on, I would say start thinking about it now. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
We're running a little bit out of time, so maybe you'll take this,
Okay.
Professor Dr. Clicker.
Change microphones. That's right. Okay. Hi. Thank you. So I'm going to talk about 8366 BIS. I'll just quickly mention there was something I posted a message. Oh, or maybe I haven't finished it yet. There was something mentioned in LAMPS about SCTP, and I think it actually applies to 8366, and I'll send that message. I think we're immune, but we'll see for that. Yeah, 22, good with the right slides. Okay, so the story so far, we tried to do the extensions. If anyone doesn't know why that went badly, I spoke again to Kent on the hackathon, and he doesn't remember why it went badly, which is unfortunate because we've had a lot of conversation about that. So we wrapped them all up into 8366, all the Yang extensions from all the places. We moved in the CBOR SID stuff from the constraint Brewski that Esco just talked about into this document. And we waited for all the docs to become stable, some equilibrium, and that's the case and there. So I've been through all of the, we had a lot of Shepherd review comments from late 2023. Seems like it was yesterday, and they're all merged. So that's what I'm talking about in the next slide. There we go. There we go. So I have left them. I have left all the pull requests in GitHub so that you can read the individual things and do that. I will merge them all week after, 2 weeks after, in 2 weeks. So you have a chance to review them. I would really like other people to look at them because, you know, I have only so many brain cells to figure out whether the text was sensible, and this will be easier for you to review. And so please do that. But the document in the data tracker is the result of everything having been merged, essentially. And okay, so I want to talk about the extension process. I don't want to have to do all of this again or too frequently, although it seems to be the Yang way. So I've added this extension that I learned from RFC 8530, which is MUD. MUD did this. I was perplexed as to why the Yang doctors didn't go bonkers about this when it was done in 2018. And my conclusion is they just didn't read the document, maybe, or maybe they just loved it. I don't know. So I've created this. This is copied straight out of the MUD Yang. There is an issue about, it says string, and for CBOR, it has to be integer. And I don't know how to solve that except by not, and just closing my eyes and pretending. But there you go. Okay. It is possible to do extensions in JSON without doing this because you can just add any keys you like to the JSON. And if you do it right, they won't conflict, right? In the CBOR side and Cbrewski, it's not because you need to allocate SIDs and you need to deal with delta encoding. So that's what it would look like if you did it in JSON with the extensions. So you see there is a, I get to do this, right? You can't really see it, but remote people can't see it, but people. Extensions, you list the extensions. We had this one document that hasn't gone anywhere, but let's say it did, IETF voucher delegated. Okay, you would say, I'm using this extension, and then you'd have this sub-dictionary that has some new items in it. Seems sensible? There'd be a simple way to do this? Okay. And that's what I'm proposing. That's what MUD does, kind of. MUD doesn't quite do it the same way, but I think this is more sensible. Okay, in the CBOR view, so you need to have a SID number, so you have to get one. Where are you going to get one? Well, you could get one from IANA, you can get one from someone else's mega range, and Andy Bierman looks like he's going to actually put up something that the industry can use. And we have a proposal to do it via a private enterprise number as well. Whether that will go forward or not, doesn't matter. All that we care about is that somehow you get a SID number. And you probably shouldn't use the private extension, sorry, the experimental space you should use because it may conflict. You need something that's really valid. So basically you list here, this is the SID number extensions. You put your number here, which is your module number that says I'm using this extension. And then you have this tag 47, which means basically I am not a delta encoded tag. And then within that, you do your own thing with your own MUDs. So this number 1 is actually tagged 61,001 and then 61,002. Okay, and that blue is impossible to read, sorry. So that's what that looks like. Please think hard if you like that, you hate it. But my goal is not to be doing all of this again, because we spent 3 years kind of doing this Yang administrative stuff to make all the extension works. And I would like to just do this next time. Also, at a couple of people's request.
Can I
Well,
do a quick
yes.
question on that?
Yep.
Is there any specific, just to force their hands, early review from someplace to get buy-in for this stuff? Because this sounds like another possible bureaucracy challenge if we do it later.
So I keep trying to get on the net mod. I will never know if it's net comp or net mod. I believe it's net mod that I want to be on. I try to get on the agenda. I don't feel like I get answers to things, and they're deep in something else. I think they're having another virtual interim soon. I'm going to try again to talk about that. As I said, I wrote this up as a separate document somewhere else, and we'll see if they hate it. Okay. And I propose we just go ahead, and if the Yang doctors notice, great. And if they don't, they don't. Right. That's my proposal. We'll go ahead and we won't ask for permission. We'll apologize later.
Okay.
With our AD in the room listening to us to know that we're doing that. Right. Any other questions about this?
No, just if you need any help from chairs in terms of asking for directed reviews.
We should go back to Alexander Clem and ask him what he thinks, because he was the shepherd for this document anyway, and I hope he likes it. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that for sure. Tell me, I'll try to ping. I was specifically asking for the extension model.
Yeah.
Review.
Yeah.
Because that was he was doing a review before you had the extension model.
Correct. So I want to ask him also if he's happy with all of the changes that we've done based on his review, because they were quite extensive.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are some people in the queue now.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So the question was, you were talking now about extensions, not of the voucher module, but to include things from other Yang modules in the voucher. So, but that means you still have the same problem if you want to add a field to the voucher or the voucher request module itself, basically in the same Yang module. So that's basically still needed then to kind of spin a new RFC.
So if we had this already, then Brewski Cloud would just become an extension like this, and so would PRM, and so would Zebrowski. If we had already had this, then we would have done it this way. It probably costs us 2 bytes.
Yeah, but this way means you always make a new module with your extensions, and then you import from multiple of these modules, right?
Yep.
Mahesh speaking as a contributor. You have Kent as a co-author on the draft, right?
Right.
And you showed him the Yang.
I'm trying to.
Okay, so my suggestion would be you will be burning too many cycles going to netmod, because you're right. They have other bigger challenges to solve right now. Go with Kent. Kent should be able to answer your question. And if not, a Yang doctor early review should resolve this issue for you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll do that. That's a good idea. I tried to talk to him on the weekend, but there was bandwidth issues.
Just have the chair here, send it a Yang doctor's early review, and you
well, okay. I will do exactly what you said, but I think it'll happen in 2 weeks on the telephone, and we'll get it done. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I just think I'm going to have to start from zero, because it appears that he's lost all the context on the weekend. So, okay. So ESCO asked for us, and some people asked for a simple extension. If you just had some stuff in your manufacturer and you wanted to tell your pledge some stuff, and you don't want to go through all of this rigmarole, so we created this thing called manufacturer private. So one time it's non-interoperable, which means that the registrar is going to have no idea what's in the middle. Yes, there's a covert channel issue here. And so basically
Sorry, we're kind of unorganized, and there is Carsten actually also waiting.
Oh, sorry, Carsten, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention that Yang has identities which turn into strings on the JSON side and into numbers and to SIDs on the CBOR side. So maybe this is the thing that you are looking for.
It has identities. Yes, I think the module number is a good so what you wind up asking about is why am I using 61,000? That's the module number, and you're saying I should use a different number there.
Well, on the previous slide, there was this thing that was a string of 1 to 40 characters, or the one before that.
Yeah.
And you said it should be a number in CBOR.
Yeah.
And all I'm saying is identities have this property. They turn into
cool.
numbers when you do sitting.
Okay, thank you very much. That's perfect, right? I was like, it's not a string, it's a string or a number. Okay, so identities. Okay, I'll put that in. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this part, this kind of extension? Anyone else in the queue?
Nope.
Okay. All right, so manufacture simple extension. This works differently. We have this new attribute, which, by the way, turns out did not get SID allocated, so I did it in my head. So I'll fix that in the document. And so in it, you stick, in the case of JSON, it's easy. It's just a dictionary that you stuff in there, same as before. But I use the CBOR example here. In that case, you have a B string. The reason you encode it in another layer of B string is because you probably don't want it delta encoded. You probably want your own private stuff. So that's what this left, right thingy does. Says it's B string encoded. And so basically you just put whatever you like, you just put it there, and you're in the manufacturer. You do whatever you like. It's not interoperable. It's completely private to do your thing. And the registrar should know that it shouldn't touch it. Go ahead, Carson.
So how does the manufacturer know which of the 47 things that it defined in its life and before mergers and spin-offs and so on, which of the ones it is?
Because the voucher request becomes signed by the pledge using its IDEV ID, and therefore it has to go into its database anyway to find out if it's device, and at which point it knows which kind of device it is.
Okay, a device could still have two different of these.
It could have several versions. Yes, this is not the best solution. In that case, the extension would be based on a PEN number would be a better choice, because then they could put whatever they need into it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether you need to say that this byte string needs to be self-identifying, so people don't just put the naked data there and after that never can find out what they mean.
Yeah, so we should put some consideration around using it. That's fair.
I think that's all that's needed.
Yeah. And that should be it. Apparently it's blank. Oh, this is the backup slide. We're not talking about that, so I'm done.
All right. So we did underappreciate the time needs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the 2 slots for the summary of the interim and the draft that I wrote in response for the new work item, so that the people who actually made the long trip here can say something on their draft. So for that, we'd have now the lightweight grasp proposal. And let me bring up those slides here. Wait, how do I take back? And this one, and click, and click. And click, and grasp and confirm the selection. And
Hi, I'm Zhu
wait,
Wei.
you need to get the clicker. Who has the clicker? You have the clicker now, and now the clicker should work. Yes.
Hi, I'm Zhu Wei from BUPT. I will introduce our work on the lightweight grasp. Considering the urgent requirement for grasping in IoT, we have proposed the UDP-based based lightweight grasp with shortened fields and built-in reliability mechanisms. In the last meeting, we were advised that it would be helpful to design the co-apple-based lightweight grasp. Co-apple is a lightweight protocol designed for resource-constrained devices and has a mature ecosystem in IoT. For some resource-constrained devices or nodes, it would be easier to take the lightweight grasp development over co-app and than UDP-based. For example, the IoT nodes attached to the campus or entrepreneur networks where co-app has already been installed and used. What's more, the co-app reliability mechanism is improved to be stable, which may be reused by lightweight grasp instead of its self-defined mechanism. Thus, we have proposed a co-app-based lightweight grasp to take advantage of the co-app's mature ecosystem in IoT, which would benefit the lightweight grasp adoption by constrained nodes that prefer the co-app. And it should be emphasized that both the UDP-based and the co-app-based lightweight grasp are optional for nodes up to their implemented protocol requirements or preference. Mm, due to the limited time, the details of the lightweight grasp over co-app will not be introduced in this presentation. Here is an overview of co-app-based grasp. First, the draft identifies the well-known URI to define the well-known URI to identify the lightweight grasp service over co-app. And this draft also gives some example of how lightweight grasp interaction procedures work over co-app. And the prototype of our draft is under development. The slide 6 and 7 introduce how lightweight grasp message over co-app are encapsulated and handled. The slide 8 to 10 displays how lightweight grasp discovery, flood, and negotiation procedures over co-app. In summary, the UDP-based and the co-app-based lightweight grasp proposed in our draft can cover almost all IoT scenarios and satisfy their self-management for their requirements. And the prototype of our draft are ongoing and will be open sourced in the next meetings. So is there any comments or questions, and could ANIMA adopt this draft?
Yep, Carsten, go ahead.
Yeah, so we already had a slide somewhere that used the word unneeded variation. And I'm wondering why there actually need to be two ways of doing this. Because you really don't need much in the way of co-op to make this going. And anything you define directly on UDP will do the same thing. So you have to implement two versions of that. Why don't you just go for co-op?
Can I jump in with a question? What would co-op in the context of GRASS, in your opinion, do better than just UDP?
Well, if you need things like acknowledgements, slicing things into blocks, I don't know if you need something like observe, then CoAP has that. You don't have to reinvent it.
Right. So would be great if you would have an opinion if any of this, because we're all not that much co-op experts as you are, right? So that would help a lot to make that choice, because I also had put down in my list of suggestions that we should pick one of the two, right? Only co-op or only UDP.
I'm not sure.
Right. So
I have different opinion on that, because that's what existing currently in our network. There are both different nodes. Some of them have co-op already, some don't. So that's why we have to fit in their requirements from the current devices. If those because those devices are resource constraints, so they could choose whatever they best for them, to use their limited resource. That's why we have both for them to choose.
So I would suggest please start a thread on the mailing list so that we can continue the discussion there.
By the way, from chair's point, for now, this meeting, what we should decide is whether this work is interesting in the ANIMA working group, and whether it's fit in the charter. If so, then we have the we could adopt it. Then we in very good position to discuss it in mailing list.
I think that's certainly fair. I would just say maybe some working group members are adamant of first trying to have a selection or not, and that should be part of the discussion for maybe even the adoption call.
Yeah. Very good.
Bing Liu. First, I think it's a very useful work, and from my personal opinion, I think it's even necessary because it can remove some baffle TCP has for the IoT constrained environment to adopt the ANIMA approach. So I support adoption of this work. Second, I want to echo to Carsten. Me personally, I also at least currently I tend a bit to co-op because maybe it's more friendly for the implementers to reuse a very mature and well deployed code base. Yeah, I think that's one very practical reason. But maybe at the current stage we can still make it an open issue or open choice. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, let's move to the second presentation then. We've only got 8 minutes left.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear? Oh, I'm sorry, put this one down. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is a, oh.
No.
Oh, I have to look at, oh,
It's
I
all
saw that
just in
there's
time.
something no screen, okay. Oh, okay, yeah.
No.
This is a draft about the mobility management and the capability negotiation part. The draft has been, I would say, the iterate in many in many places about this one things, and then here during the I think the 3 weeks back during the interim of the ANIMA that's been presented already. So I will just try to make it simple because this is how to go this
No.
no
No.
this oh yeah it does
No, that,
it does,
that
yeah.
was probably me, but try.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Here, about the first one is just like a survey about all the mobility management related RFCs well, since the 1990s up to like 2012. Beyond it, we haven't done that part, but just to show you there are lots of things related, also revolving around the mobile IP, proxy mobile IP, and also the suite around the suite means like a functional extension or performance upgrade or improvement part. And then for the draft, we have done one dichotomy to classify all the protocols into two big buckets. One is the host initiated, the other one is the network based. For the host initiated, just we try to make it simple, like for the mobility management and negotiation, that require the active involvement of the mobile end devices. Well, for the network base, it's on the other side of the spectrum. So it requires the non or minimal involvement of the mobile devices. So try to give one dichotomy of the protocols. So with this one, we have done a survey based on some survey, and then to give two buckets, host based, network based. Here, but you don't need to look at the details. But with the in each big box, there is like a green one. That's the core side, like MIPv6, proxy MIPv6. And then around the small green box, we have some extension part. And then within the big red box is some other part that not fall into the suite, like the extension, functional extension or performance improvement, enhancement part. So here, just to remember, just memorize, we have MIPv6 and proxy IP MIPv6. Okay, and then here, this is some things like access or Y access. It's just like a one, not one-to-one mapping. It's like M to N mapping. One from host side, the other from network side. So it's like host prefer something, network can offer something. So they negotiate based on their capabilities or management requirement, those type of things, such that they can negotiate to select some common protocols that can be shared or used between them. So this is just different possible cases. We have put all the details in the draft. Okay, here it's just like some selection principles and how the host and the network is going to engage to select the best one for both of them. Well, there's some priorities. Of course, the first priority is always the network capability, since the network is always more trustable than the host. And then the next one will be host preference. And then following that will be functional extension. And then the performance enhancement part. So for this, by using these principles, we have also in the draft list quite a few user examples to say, okay, how the both sides to select. So up to here, when you say, okay, what's the relationship between the draft and then the animal? Okay, here it's just like we haven't, for this particular part, we haven't updated our draft, but we just used some words from the graph talking about the dynamically discover peer to synchronize state with each other and to negotiate the parameter settings with each other. So it's like the peer-to-peer communication and the talk and negotiate discussion, those type of things. So for the MMCM part here, we just also, from all I have presented, it regarding peer-to-peer interactions between host, mobile and device, and the network side. And then between these two entities, there are some the mobile management, protocol negotiation, and the capability notification part. So, and also, of course, the parameter settings for optimized MMCM. So here, this is something we want to do. And here is the graphs. Okay, so for the next one, and also, talk to the chairs and the expert here to link these two things together. So I'm here to present the work and also to welcome comments, to see, okay, how to proceed. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. No, we'll certainly need to find more time to read up the draft and as the chairs will. Just finish the sentence.
Sure.
We'll try to figure out how to continue the work before next IETF on all the open items through interims or just work group meetings, like the weekly meetings we have from Brewski similar.
One quick comment. Actually, one of the most important job the working group chairs have to do is to, do not cross the line between the working groups, right? So I think this work has the potential to fit in the ANIMA if we carefully choose the draft name to be very specific to the autonomic procedure to choose mobility protocols, something like that. To focus on what's the protocol works or the autonomic procedures using the ANIMA network infrastructure.
Okay.
Then that could shoot in the ANIMA work.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Just one quick logistics note. I'll be waiting 10 past 7 after the plenary in the entrance to the hotel for those who want to walk over instead of sit half an hour in the taxi. It's the same time that it takes. You think it's only 15 minutes? Yeah. So I'll be waiting there, and we'll see when the last person arrives. Yeah.
I guess that's just in time to close the session, right?
Oh, yeah, please.
Okay. See you all in next meeting.
Which will be online.
Okay.
Oh yeah, sure, but we haven't found the time.
Bye bye and enjoy the dinner.
So we'll really need to take it to some online.
Yeah, enjoy everyone.
Ask you tonight, about some more detail. That's always a good way to learn.
Okay, sure, no problem. Yes, I'm
Yeah.